Andy, walk us through, not that long ago, you were broke, you were in debt, and now we're, again, looking to do about 14 million this year across all our businesses. Walk us through these three principles that you have that were kind of instrumental in you getting started in doing what was necessary to get to this level.
Yep. Even now, like Nate, when we talk about our business and where we're at, I still think back to 9 years ago when I was broker than a joker. I was deep in debt, right? I had no concept of running a business. I had worked for somebody else my entire life. And there may be listeners to our podcast who are in that position. You may have worked for someone your entire life. And the thought of being an entrepreneur or going off on your own and not seeing that steady paycheck come in every single week, it can give you panic attacks, right? And I know for me, even after doing that, because it almost becomes robotic when you're working for someone else, you're getting that paycheck in, you're really dependent, and you wonder like, hey, do I have the skills or do I have what it takes in order to be successful, right? Building a business. And now like looking right at what we've been thankfully so appreciative been able to build together. And then as we continue to grow to that 30 million, I think of three things that really kind of helped me lay the foundation as I went into full time. So the first one is self-education. Up until the time I started on Amazon, I had really stopped educating myself. I kind of relied again on the company. The only kind of education I was doing is what the company would provide, and it only pertained to the job that I was doing. I wasn't really reading any other kind of outside books or looking to see, hey, what other opportunities are out there that I might be able to bring in some income, right, that could supplement what I was already doing. My neighbor next door started telling me about selling on Amazon. She told me for 2 years. Finally, she handed me a book, right? She said, hey, look, I know you're going on vacation. Just take this book and read about this opportunity. Well, I took that book and over vacation, I read the entire book. And after I read about Amazon and I saw kind of the big picture of where they were going, this was 2013 now. So, Amazon hadn't been around. It wasn't as big, obviously, as it is now. But I saw the opportunity and the limitless ceiling of being able to sell on Amazon as opposed to just having like a physical store location. So if you have a physical store, you can only sell from that store. Well, I saw the ability to have Amazon and your product, in 100 different warehouses open 24/7, and it opened my eyes. So it was really the self-educating part. I read that book. I came back home, and within a week after reading that book, I opened up my Amazon account. So I think that's a huge thing. And if you hear, a lot of different motivational speakers, they'll talk about that, but I never really understood it until I activated it and put that into practice. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. And what's interesting nowadays is with the advent of podcasts and YouTube and books, more traditional form of media, you can really, I think probably one of the reasons you didn't like education in the past is maybe you're just not as like super into reading. But I think, Andy, you like to watch like YouTube videos more. And obviously you can watch either just junk entertaining videos, which, have their place too, but, or, a video that is like super educational can be in that format. So, I'm just thankful that today, in today's day and age, you can get your form of education in so many different formats that there's really no excuse from that angle. It's just taking the time. And I think that's something that you pointed out that, most people who are working a traditional 9-to-5 will spend their, if they do want to put some extra effort out, they might volunteer for some overtime hours or say, hey, I'm investing for my retirement 20 years from now by putting some overtime in work. And, you might just want to question that and say, hey, instead of putting in that overtime right now at work, what if I invested in the 20 years by putting that time into starting this side hustle or educating myself in some valuable skill that is going to allow me to do something different? So I think that's just a mindset to take where you're not just that you're looking at the opportunity vehicle of what you're earning and spending money on, and is it going to get you where you want to go? And some people are in a place of work or business where they do have a lot of entrepreneur type opportunities at part of that business. But so you have to recognize that as well. If you're part of a Silicon Valley startup, which is probably none of our listeners, it might look very different than someone who's at a really big Fortune 500 where they're not growing at all with their skills. They're just like doing literally the same thing every single day for 20 years. I feel like different companies have different level of self-education as well. So you just have to recognize that. And I think that's super important.